Good afternoon to everyone. Firstly, it's a delight for me to be here this afternoon, so hopefully your questions won't be too testing for me. But I think that there's been lots of content in terms of the luxury market and technology today. It's certainly a key focus of our research and certainly about technology helping modernise luxury distribution. I was listening carefully to the comments and the insights from Michael Evans at Alibaba earlier today, and it mirrors certainly what we see in our digital thesis, the rising importance of the multi-brand platforms and the role that they play for the luxury industry in its shift towards more digital distribution. Now, at this point, I will just pause for long enough for everyone to see the disclaimer on the screen. And I realise a slide with no pictures is a very bad thing to do at this time of the day, but hopefully you have had a coffee. Now, moving on, I thought I'd briefly just describe a bit of context in terms of the luxury market, how we look at it, how we view it, and certainly the outlook for 2019. I have a wonderful role in the fact that I get to do multiple channel checks on a constant basis, so that's the real fun part. But we all know there's lots of data behind everything that we do, and we have a very proprietary GS macro tracker as well. All in all, after two very strong years of luxury, 2017 and 2018 growing around 10% each, we're forecasting a moderate slowdown to around 6%, but still very healthy for 2019. The year to date has started better than expected and absolutely driven by the same trends that we've been seeing over the past few years. Outperformance for Asia-Pac, but particularly within mainland China. And there's a few dynamics where we're seeing an increase or an acceleration with the appetite to spend within mainland China. Now, distribution. This is the key part of the topic today. So we know the mix has to evolve. Retail networks are maturing, and there's been limited net new space over the past 2 to 3 years. While stores themselves become more and more exciting venues to visit and brands focus on a best-in-class customer experience, we think the physical footprint is largely complete. As you've heard a lot today in terms of the consumer mix, the importance of the millennial consumer in terms of the base. Now, this is actually a couple of years old now, but when we think about the millennial consumer being around a third of overall luxury demand, we know that completely under indexes for someone like a Gucci, where it's really 2/3 millennial consumer. Now, in context, you've got over 90% of the distribution channel, which is traditional bricks and mortar, and you've got a big millennial customer base. It seems out of kilter. When we think about the evidence, there is plenty of evidence, we think, of consumers wishing to spend online. Note the 1.4 million users on Farfetch. But we do see a preference, and what we're showing here is app download data over the past 12 months. And essentially what we're showing is the consumer preference to really purchase on multi-brand e-commerce platforms versus brand.com in the green on the right. This reflects, obviously, very clear patterns, greater inventory choice, as well as enhanced service capabilities, delivery options, but very importantly, the returns. This is where we see the emergence of new strategic deals, which we think will allow brands to open up retail agreements on multi-brand platforms. We call these e-concessions, and this is our term in terms of these online marketplace deals. We think about these, and examples would be such as Farfetch. We obviously heard from Alibaba talking about Luxury Pavilion today. JD.com has something called Top Life, and the two latter platforms for China were launched as recently in 2017. The online landscape is definitely in its infancy, and unsurprisingly, we're seeing more and more strategic announcements in the more recent past, as brands themselves are absolutely embracing the need to move online. And they're also focused on the fact that brand.com isn't quite enough to really accelerate the online move. What we're assuming in our forecasts is that online luxury can outpace offline by 7 times over the next 10 years. In context, we're forecasting online growth of 30% per annum over the next 5 years versus 4% for offline. There's an incredibly clear message in strategy. When we consider luxury distribution, we think we're absolutely on the cusp of major change for luxury. Across industries, and when we compare versus other industries such as apparel, consumer electronics, and we look at the digital S-curve, luxury, in our view, has entered the early majority adoption phase. Access to inventory drives a larger online luxury cohort, which encourages more brands to jump on board. If we look at the next slide, we're assuming that just 7% of sales today are online for luxury. And when we look at that market, we're looking at everything excluding beauty. And we think that will increase to 17% by 2028. We think e-concessions will be the driver of the bulk of that share gain. The channel offers several benefits for brands we see. So the ability to accelerate the shift to higher margin retail, access to platforms with higher traffic versus brand.com, improved data and consumer analytics, the absolutely key of many discussions today. And they can also offer logistics solutions. Think about same-day delivery or next-day delivery in a complex market such as China. We also think, very importantly, that e-concessions can provide additional control against the grey market. At the same time, we also see benefits for consumers: access to greater inventory, greater choice, improved service. Think about the white glove delivery service that JD.com talks about in China, and one platform to deal with for your returns, as well as the importance for the consumer price transparency. We think that all categories can benefit in the shift. E-concessions can modernise channel mix and open up luxury's addressable market to a younger consumer base, and also help with the view of omnichannel, shopping on the go, shopping online, shopping in store. Online, overall, we think will account for 60 billion of industry sales over the next 10 years of annual sales, but the segment clearly most primed to benefit most is the apparel market. And that's what we're trying to show in the chart here in terms of the online, the high frequency, lower value touch items. So when we think about the 17% of digital penetration in 10 years' time, we see a great big difference between hard luxury, which is sub 10, and the fashion industry, such as Gucci, Balenciaga, etc., being the 20% plus.